very nice. Thank you. Thank you. Here we are together for what will be a 7-week farewell. It's all moving along quickly, isn't it? But it's a farewell that's distinguished by never being quite final. As John Sloan Dickey said regularly, John served as president from 1945 to 1970, and every year at commencement he would remind students that in the Dartmouth Fellowship there is no parting. Certainly Susan and I are very pleased to join you this evening with alumni and alumni friends, including some whom we first knew as students. We all come to salute a special senior class at a time of transition for them in their lives. Members of the class of 2009, it seems to us really just a season ago, a finger snap ago, that we welcomed some of you up at the Ravine Lodge when Susan and I came up at the end of some of your trips. When we had you over to the President's house for a picnic at the beginning of your orientation week, and we all sat down that field west of the President's house. And when you came through my office for matriculation, and I had a chance individually to tell you again that we wanted to welcome you at Dartmouth. We've had the opportunity over the last few fleeting years to come to know many of you, to talk to you and to cheer on your accomplishments. But now it is spring. It's senior spring. It has come on so quickly. It has come on quickly for all of us. Certainly senior spring has a new meaning for me this year as we join you. It's quite amazing that what's happened since the admissions process for the class of 2009 was completed. You wanted to be here, and as I told you in the fall of 2005, we wanted each and every one of you to be here. You were admitted as individuals because of what it is that you had accomplished and because of what it is that you promised. What you promised you could do and deliver here at Dartmouth, and what you promised for a lifetime of making a difference. You came here excited, a little bit scared perhaps, understandably. And once you arrived, most of you not knowing a single person in your class, somehow, organically, through choices made and through those sort of random encounters that can mark a Dartmouth experience, through the development and the pursuit of shared interests with classmates, and through what I would simply call the magic of place and of a culture that values community, true community. And by true community, I mean a place that welcomes, that includes, where the members feel, indeed, I belong here. This is my home. I belong. After 40 years of being here, I can't tell you how it is the character of your class takes shape. But I can say, I don't know of a better word to describe what happens to a class from those first-year trips to the time when we gather for commencement. But something does happen, and as far as I'm concerned, magic is still a good word to describe that. It's the magic of Dartmouth. It's the magic of this physical place. It's the magic of this legacy and this culture that embraced you and that you in turn embraced and made your own. You managed individually to keep your own identities and yet become unified into the nines. You undertook the Dartmouth experience and you made it your own. If we can never quite define the quality and nature of a class, it does not mean that we do not understand that each class has a unique quality and nature. You've seen an unprecedented number of construction projects during the time that you've been here. And I thank you for your forbearance and patience. We've all had to walk around construction sites and endure the dislocation of construction. But we got through a lot of that by now, by the time you graduate, and you can always say that you were here at Dartmouth to see the McLaughlin cluster open, the Fahey and McLean residence halls, Haldeman and Kemeny, the McLean Engineering Building, the Fitness Center, the Florin Varsity House, and this week the dedication of Biondi Park. You arrived here in the fall of 2005, along with Hurricane Katrina and Rita hitting the Gulf Coast. You supported rebuilding in those affected areas, and some of you volunteered over the last few years to go down and to serve and to make a difference there. Some of you pounded the pavement for the candidate of your choice in last year's primaries or in the general elections last fall. And you battled the elements this year for Winter Carnival. It was not the best of weather, but we all determined that we were going to have a sculpture for the '09 Winter Carnival, and indeed we did. You have had the pleasure of hearing some of the finest minds, the most talented minds of our time, and you have lent your own passionate voices to causes near and far, making a difference as you have done so. In athletic competition, in meetings and conferences, as interns, as employees during your free terms, you have represented Dartmouth well. And of course, along the way, you have made good friends surely among your classmates, but also other students, faculty and staff, and alumni, and especially the class of 1959. We all understand that June 14th, 2009 represents just a step on a journey. It's not the beginning, surely. We began a few years ago. It's not the beginning, but assuredly it's not the conclusion either of your relationship with each other and with your college. I hope that you'll find many opportunities to return to campus over the years following this June, to enjoy here again those soft September sunsets, to move maybe from the Collis porch to the porch of the Hanover Inn and sit in one of the rocking chairs there. And I often point out that in 40 years I've still to sit in a rocking chair on the porch of the Hanover Inn, but maybe next year I'll have a chance to do that. Maybe I'll have the time to do that. Maybe I can join you there. But the bond that you share with each other and with this place is intense because you know this place. You're comfortable here. At homecoming last fall, when I spoke on Dartmouth Night, and some of you may be surprised, despite having been to Dartmouth Night for 4 years, that some of us actually speak on Dartmouth Night. There's so much background noise out in the green and elsewhere that I'm never convinced that anyone really can hear what it is that we say. But I spoke and I welcomed the 12s to their first Dartmouth Night as students. I told them how very special it was to have them here and that they were beginning something that they would repeat over the years. But I also had a message that night for the class of 2009. I said to you, you may be thinking of this as your last Dartmouth Night, your last bonfire, but as only that as students. We don't think around here about last Dartmouth Nights, and you'll be here for Dartmouth Nights in the future, as this past fall were members of the classes of the 50s and 40s and even a few from the 30s that marched and wanted to be part of this gathering. Your fellowship with the college will last a lifetime, and when you return as a class in 5 short years for the first of many formal reunions, you will then be reminded of your time here. You'll remind each other of your time here. And indeed, some of you may try to relive your time here over that weekend. But you also will have a chance to observe an incredible shift, an inevitable shift. Probably members of the class of 2016 and 2017 will be working at your reunion. They will be inhabiting what you think of as your classrooms, your residence halls, your fraternities and sororities. Maybe they'll be using your locker, if you have a locker as an athlete, or some other locker that you have on campus. They may now be there. Their name will be on it. They may be in your studio space. They will be here. And the class of 16, indeed, will study in a new life sciences building, a very special place that will open for them. And I can predict confidently that they will be very pleased with President Kim. And indeed, for the members of the class of 2016 and 17, they will think he's been president here forever, because surely they never knew anybody else who served as president of Dartmouth. While the core of the campus will remain intact, the experience will be reshaped by physical changes and by a world that will make new demands that we cannot now imagine. Who among us can say what the world will be asking of us in 2014, will be asking of you in 2014? And there will be new students here, new students with their own ambitions and their own dreams. and they'll be trying to pursue those at Dartmouth. Yet I believe, even as you see these changes around you, you'll also observe the same deep commitment to undergraduate learning that you see now, the same commitment by world-class faculty to work closely with students, the same commitment to a sense of true community that is open to all of its members, and the same commitment to providing the very best liberal arts education any place. I have said on a number of occasions over the years that I believe that those of us who hold an administrative or other responsibility at Dartmouth have two fundamental obligations for us to keep in mind. First, we need to provide for every class, every generation of students, every student who comes here, an experience that is so special for them that when they leave upon graduation, they are convinced it could never be improved upon, and therefore it should never be changed from what it is that they knew. The class of '59s can attest to this mood and attitude. But our obligation is twofold. It's to make certain that you have such an experience, and even on the day following commencement, we're cleaning and folding the chairs out on the green and trying to take down the stage and move on for the summer term here. Even as we are doing that, Dartmouth has a responsibility to be working to make certain that the class who's coming in next fall and those years that will follow will have an experience that's relevant to them, to their world and their ambitions and their dreams. This is Dartmouth, and we are all obligated to provide that. This is what makes for enduring institutions, and this is what makes for the finest undergraduate education in the country. My primary request to you, members of the class of 2009, is really pretty simple to formulate. I would urge you to replicate your class, to keep recruiting students to come to Dartmouth, students who are as diverse, as interesting, and simply as good company to be around as you have been. I would encourage you to try to persuade and encourage students to come here who are as strong academically as you and are as accomplished in the arts or athletics. Students who are as committed to making this community a place where all are welcome and secure. If you do those things, Dartmouth will do well. And when you come back and see them at the time of your reunion in 2014, these students whom you have participated in recruiting to come here, they will say to you, "This is my Dartmouth. This is my school now." And that's the way the story should always be told. It's a story that should never have an end. I would share with you something I told your parents when I met a number of them in September of 2005. I told them the story of a Dartmouth graduate of many years ago, and indeed over 210 years ago, a young man who was then just 15 years old appeared at the college. This youngster came from Salisbury, New Hampshire, where his parents owned 225 acres of very, very poor farmland. And when you talk about very, very poor farmland in New Hampshire, you know it's poor farmland. Neither of this young man's parents had any formal education to speak of, but they knew that their son was not somebody who was going to be a farmer. He had neither the interest in farming, and he hadn't demonstrated any real skill in farming. And so his parents were encouraged to think about sending him to college, where he might pursue some other interests. And so this young man, Daniel Webster, whose portrait is behind me on this wall, after whom this room in the Hanover Inn is named, and after whom we name these dinners that we hold for graduating seniors in the spring. Daniel Webster applied to Dartmouth at a time when applicants still needed to appear in person before the faculty to take oral examinations that tested their capacity in the use of the English language, in Latin, the Greek Testament, and arithmetic. He came clad in a homespun suit that a neighbor had made for him because he did not own a suit of clothes, and he wanted to have a suit of clothes to wear for this interview with the faculty at Dartmouth. His neighbor had dyed the suit blue, a rich blue, and it rained that day in Hanover. And by the time Daniel Webster appeared before the faculty, he was covered with blue dye that had run from this suit. As he stood before the faculty to take his examinations, he said to them, "Thus you see me as I am. If I'm not entitled to your approbation, at least to your sympathy." And there was something in this young man that the faculty interviewers liked. There was a touch there that they knew was a real promise. He was rough. He did not have good preparation for some of the work at Dartmouth, but he had enough, and they thought maybe this would be a good one to admit. Ebenezer and Abigail Webster, his parents, mortgaged their farm in order to send Daniel Webster to Dartmouth, and he worked his way through this college. You follow his accounts of his years here. There are very few days in Hanover where he did not work, doing odd jobs on the campus, on Main Street, and in the village of Hanover, doing whatever he could to earn a little money, to buy a meal, to have a room, to pay for books, to be able to survive here as a student. Certainly he and his family understood the importance of a college education, and they believed deeply in the opportunities that it might provide for Daniel. Indeed, Daniel Webster himself was so convinced of this that as he graduated in 1801, he talked his parents into letting his younger brother Ezekiel enroll at Dartmouth as well. Now, his parents had already mortgaged the farm to pay for Daniel's education. They said, "I'm sorry, Daniel, we have no money. We have no ability to help your brother Ezekiel." And so Daniel said, "Okay, I will help him." And so even as he went off to read law, to prepare for the bar examinations, he continued to work extra jobs to earn money to pay for Ezekiel's Dartmouth education. And Ezekiel followed his older brother and having jobs in this campus, in this village all the time to help support his way through Dartmouth. Daniel acknowledged that his brother's education was not directly his responsibility, but he did understand the opportunity to make certain that his experiences would be available to somebody that he cared very much for, that he cared about. Daniel Webster and Ezekiel were very lucky young men. So too are you, very lucky young men and young women. The opportunity to attend Dartmouth, to participate in this vibrant, lively community is a gift that has been given to each of you. To be sure, you work very hard to be here. You are bright and able, but we all know that there are so many out there who work hard and are bright and able and don't have the opportunity that you have, that I have, to be part of a community like this. We are lucky. And we're lucky because a lot of people have cared for us, have cared for you. You have a sense of gratitude that you're all thinking about this spring, to be sure. Gratitude to your family, to friends, to teachers who encouraged and supported your dreams. And you also have a sense of gratitude to many generations of Dartmouth graduates who walked these paths before you and who worked to sustain the dreams that have enabled you over the last 4 years. Most of those in the latter group who made possible and enriched your experience did not personally know you. Indeed, some died a century or more before you were born. But they believed in you without even knowing you. They believed in you, and they believed in Dartmouth and the sort of school that it was. The generosity and the loyalty of Dartmouth alumni is legendary, and you are beneficiaries of this legacy. And the question is, what do you do with a legacy that has benefited you so well? Just as you will depend on your classmates to keep alive memories of your time here, Dartmouth will count on you, will rely upon you to ensure that future generations have a similarly memorable time. The legacy that has sustained you now becomes the responsibility that you embrace. This is the Dartmouth tradition that can never fail, a shared commitment to ensure that the Dartmouth experience is made even stronger for those who would come after us. Your work recruiting potential students, the time you give to alumni clubs or groups or to your class, and the support that you will offer students through gifts to the annual fund are all part of the Dartmouth story and the Dartmouth Compact. I am delighted, I'm pleased that so many of your classmates are working on a senior class gift from the class of 2009, and this will provide an opportunity for each of you to participate and provide scholarship support for the class of 2013. To remind them that you care about them and that you expect them to take advantage of this legacy and also assume responsibility for it over the next 4 years and beyond. I would simply urge all of you to join in your senior class gift. The level is not important. Surely we all know that very few of you have the capacity to do anything more than a nominal gift, but nominal gifts indicate, yes, the class of 2009 is going to step up and share in this process. And sometime in the future, when some of you may have the capacity to make larger gifts, I can assure you somebody will find you out there and talk to you about that and give you a real pleasant opportunity to make an investment in Dartmouth. At your convocation in September of 2005, I concluded with an invitation to you. I said, we have work to do, you and I, and it is time to begin. Now, here we are, I guess, at final exams of that work assignment that I gave you 4 years ago. And I would simply say that it has been my observation, and I've observed you all very closely, my observation that you have assumed this task well. But I think you also recognize that that was a beginning to a process that has no end. Dartmouth is not a discrete period in your life. Dartmouth has become a part of you in your life. And all that you have done and all that you represent give us confidence in you. Susan and I will look forward to other occasions, certainly over the next several weeks, to express our admiration for the class of 2009. I'm proud to be wearing a 2009 class ring that members of your senior class council gave me last fall at the time that you got your class rings. I'm delighted to have it. And more than admire you, Susan and I will join with you in this last term, this last lap that we embrace together. Indeed, this is the last senior dinner that we'll have this spring, the last senior dinner where I'll have an opportunity to speak. And I say that in a season that is filled for me, as it is for you, with a lot of last things. And all I can say is that Susan and I are enjoying them immensely with you. Like you, we sometimes hope for these few months to go on for a time that never ends. We'd like to see everything slow down because June is coming on us quickly. And certainly I recognize that this could get emotionally very difficult before it's over. But I have to say that in contrast to this sentiment, at other times we're eager to see what is next, what we'll do next in our lives. And I have enjoyed asking members of the class, what are you going to do next? And nobody need to be embarrassed when they say, I don't know, because that's my answer. I don't know. But I will say that I am curious to find out. And I think that a community such as Dartmouth enhances a feeling and a sense of curiosity. And it leaves us enabled with a will to try something a little bit different, to do something we hadn't quite planned upon. Certainly, no matter how we approach this, though, as moods and wishes vary, the speed of the clock and the count of the calendar do not vary. They go on relentlessly, tick, tick, tick. And all of the wishing and hoping in the world will not slow that down. It's a constant speed. And someday we'll arrive at June 14th, for time moves. But we also understand well that stories and memories and friendships, these things do not move on. They are a part of us and they can't be taken away by a clock or a calendar. We have good company in you, Susan and I do, for a farewell embrace of all that is Dartmouth. We hope that you enjoy your senior spring, and we thank you so much for joining us tonight and allowing us to join with you over the next several weeks. Thank you very much.